With me today is Sue Dobbie, who runs economic development and policy consultancy to Nakuri Enterprise. She has over 25 years of experience at high levels in government and in the not-for-profit sector. She's committed to the process of demystifying central government to the regions and, of course, vice versa, helping groups and businesses in regions work with central government to gain mutually beneficial outcomes. Good morning, Sue. How are you?
Morena, Eho. I'm very well, thank you.
Fabulous to hear. I'm pretty well known for banging the drum that communication is actually a two-way thing. Do we need to be better up here at letting Wellington know who we are and what we can do and what the potential is up here?
Yes, I think you can be better, but you need to speak with one voice. I think part of the issue has been very disparate messages going to Wellington, and I think getting together to create your own strategy and to communicate your needs effectively, to understand what the role for central and local government is in that strategy and what you need to be doing yourselves. I think those are important things to think about when you're communicating with Wellington, because government, it's not government's role to do business. You know, business needs to do business, but where there are things that are interfering in business's ability that the government can solve or can work alongside or co-invest, you know, you need to hold the positive conversations, not the ones that say you owe us a living, but here's the need that we've identified, here's what we're doing about it for ourselves, and this is what we need your support for, and that will be given a much better hearing than just moaning about something.
You've been involved with a couple of projects in Northland, and what do you think the prognosis is for our region, and what do you think that Northland businesses should be looking at doing to boost themselves out of this ditch that we find ourselves in?
Yeah, I think Northland has a really promising future. I think there's been some really good things that have been or in the process of being done in Northland. So, for example, you've got a great subtropical climate. You can grow things that other people can't grow. Your issue has been water. But the government and the region together are now looking at water storage, and the quicker we can move on some of that, the faster the economy will recover. So I think, you know, that's one thing. I think Northern has a youthful workforce. It needs a bit of support, but at least you've got a workforce. I mean, there are some regions where that's not you know, that they don't have the same potential. I mean, I think about the West Coast, for example, with very limited natural resources and perhaps a more ageing population. Northland's got, you know, some benefits in that. It's rich in natural resources, but I think there are some things that it needs to think about in the utilisation of those resources.
What are those?
I think thinking about how you can use those natural resources over and over again. So one of the philosophies that we've been thinking about with the potential development of the NAFA Innovation and an Enterprise Park has been the concept of closed loop or circular economy thinking. Initially, we thought about this as, you know, not trying to put any more pressure on the local infrastructure by managing our waste on site, you know, managing our water and wastewater and so on. But I think that concept has much wider application across the region, thinking about clusters of enterprise that could use the waste streams of each other as inputs for their manufacturing. So, for example, taking waste, green matter, putting it into biodigesters to create energy and heat, and there are other things like biogas and potentially CO2 for glass houses. So CO2 is not a bad thing in itself. It depends what you do with it. So I think even in clusters like at Marsden Point, I think the circular economy concept could work there, but it needs active planning. You can't just expect it to happen. It also creates greater value for businesses. So, you know, you might think circular economy is just a hippie thing. It's not actually. A circular economy can save businesses money. I was reading something yesterday about the Danes. They have, their economy is based on petroleum products, or has been. They have a closed loop or circular economy in one place where there's 11 businesses that work together to utilise each other's waste streams. And there are a huge variety of businesses, including pharmaceuticals businesses. There's 22 exchanges of waste. They save themselves $27 million a year in cost because they work together.
Presumably that calls for a degree of scale, though. Presumably it calls for a degree of scale and diversity, which we don't necessarily have up here. How do we go about
I think you can,
achieving that?
yeah, you can do that at smaller scale. So individual businesses can create more circular manufacturing just by the way they think about their product design, making sure that they're utilising their waste products and their processes, and then the way they, what they do at the end of life. You're right, it is better to have scale, but it can be done at community level scale. And I think, this is something that Northland could be, a leader in. We could think about how do we do this at smaller scale to start with, because it's easier to do it in horticultural based production. That's there's known technologies around that, and I think it is an opportunity for Northland to think about how it does its manufacturing.
Are you seeing an interest in organisations moving north to take advantage of the various resources and the space and the manpower and the kind of things that you were referring to there? Is there any kind of hunger? And do you think in a post-COVID world there might be more hunger than there was previously?
I absolutely. We are seeing strong interest in utilising both the waste and the natural resources. So, looking at slash from forestry, and the waste from production, horticultural production. There are companies that are looking for sources of those to locate environmental businesses. I think the other thing is that you're seeing a lot more investment for impact. So looking at social and environmental impacts in particular. And it's an area that is still quite nascent in New Zealand, but I think is growing exponentially.
What do you think are the priorities for us as we head out of lockdown? What do you think our region's business leaders should be doing, if anything at all, other than the usual?
I think as a region, Northland, because it doesn't have research and development agencies located in the region except for NIWA at Bream Bay and a few kiwi fruit researchers in Kirikiri, there probably hasn't been as much contact with the knowledge that exists in our research and development system. So what I'd love to see is Northland Inc. pulling together clusters of businesses around research clusters, different research agencies that have an interest in things like biogas, for example, to get them together and talk about the work that they're doing, the application from that work, and how it might benefit businesses.
Yeah.
So I know that initially they'll be trying to get, their employees back in work and being able to work safely. But I think, it's not going to be very long before they need to start thinking about how their businesses are going to survive, and knowledge is really important part of that survival.
Listen, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it. It's lovely to chat to you.
That's no problem.